Alright, today we're going to be covering how to remove powder coating. There's three primary ways you can remove powder coating from a surface. One includes chemical strippers like aircraft paint strippers, or B17 is a popular product. Sandblasting will also remove powder coating. And the final option you have is a batch burn-off oven. The burn-off oven uses temperatures above the temperature that you use to apply the powder or bake the powder on the product, and then it will bake off the powder on it, allowing nothing but the clean surface left. Before we show you stripping with chemicals and stripping with the sandblaster, we're going to cover some of the pros and cons of each. Chemical stripping is an easy way to do very small volume. You can get a small gallon of stripper and do a few parts here and there. It does offer the ability to get into nooks and crannies more effectively relative to sandblasting. However, chemical stripping can be difficult because of the problems associated with getting rid of the chemical stripper. Generally, if you're going to chemical strip larger parts, you'll want to use a complete dipping tank to be able to strip the product effectively and efficiently. And it also can sometimes leave residual paint after you're done. That's somewhat of a pain and difficulty to clean up. So chemical stripping is good for small parts or large parts that may not be blastable, that you're trying to get rid of powder coating on, but it has the issues of disposing of the chemicals, and it also tends to be a messier process. Sandblasting offers the ability to remove the powder coating and prep the surface simultaneously, so it'll allow you to be ready for your next step of reapplying a powder coating or a paint if that's what you're trying to do. Relative to chemical stripping, you'd still have another step to be able to get ready for powder coating. Usually that would include some sort of phosphate rinse or etching agent to create a profile for your powder to adhere to. Batch burn-off oven, relative to chemicals or sandblasting, don't provide a profile, but they will be very efficient at removing the powder off of a surface. Sandblasting can be tricky with nooks and crannies and can take a little bit of time to remove powder because of how stubborn it is. If you will be sandblasting, we're going to show you sandblasting here. You generally want to consider using an aluminum oxide or potentially a glass media. Usually aluminum oxide will be most effective. We have glass bead in our cabinet, and we'll show you that. You want to select the glass media based on how strong of a profile you want, and so that's something to consider before you blast the whole surface. Blast the test portion so you make sure you don't get too strong of a profile that you have to then fill in with powder. So we'll show you blasting. Blasting also doesn't have the waste in dealing with chemical disposal compared to the chemical stripping agents, and so it's a little cleaner and easier to deal with overall. You do have to have a cabinet that your parts will fit in, so that can be a limitation to blasting. That isn't usually a limitation if you can get a dip tank or you're using a large batch burn-off oven. Between the three, blasting and chemical stripping will be the most common options. Most batch ovens, it's hard to find one that's going to be a high enough temperature. So you can see blasting removes the powder coating pretty quickly and efficiently. Stripping agent here will be you simply just brush on, and then you have a gooey residue after about 15 minutes that you can then remove with a brush or wipe down. So we already did this a little bit, and you can see how it leaves a gooey substance there. That's the downside of stripping agents. You would have to have some way to clean this after you're done, so a follow-up dip, and then you'd have to be able to dispose of the chemicals. So that's stripping powder off of a surface. Once you've removed an existing powder coating, if you're trying to re-powder coat, then you can move on to surface preparation. We'll go ahead and cover that next, and if you have questions on removing powder coating, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you for watching.